You're listening to the Baylor Football Postgame Show on the Baylor Lariat Radio as the Bears drop their conference opener to Arizona State 27-24 on a Jesus Gomez game-winning 43-yard touchdown as time expired on the Saturday night game here in McLean Stadium. Hi, everyone, and I hope you all are doing well. I'm Jeffrey Cohen here alongside me during the entire broadcast earlier, Aidan O'Connor. Aidan, just another tough loss for the Bears. The defense was the highlight of the night. Probably the best that they've played all season against, competitive teams, against Power 4 teams. But towards the end of that game, you could just tell that they were gassed and they were tired, especially the offense not being able to sustain drives in that third quarter, and that just kind of set them up for failure in the second half.
It definitely did. The offense, Josh Cameron's 2 fumbles, the interception. It seemed that the entire game, especially the second half, that the Baylor defense was playing with their backs against the wall on their own side of the field. And they held strong. A lot of drives, either forcing a field goal or that big fourth down stop. And it looked like there was hope. And then it would just seem like the offense would sputter again, and then all the pressure would be back on the defense. But this has been their best performance by far for the entire season. And while Levitt did have one of his best games passing the ball, when it came to rushing, well, you look at the box score, 179 yards is not something you'd hope for, but versus a team that is one of the best in the nation that averages over 200 rush yards per game, that's the outcome that you want. And that's why it was so close today. And Raleek Brown, a guy who averages over 8 yards a carry, only getting 3.8 yards per carry today. And the defense really held up. It was more of just the offense really not doing anything for them. Bryson Washington not getting involved till that big run in the third quarter. Or Sawyer, before that last drive, he was 195 yards. And this is a guy who's supposed to be a gunslinger, 400 yards plus per game, but there were no down-the-field throws. And it just seemed that the play calling was just really conservative, and then there was nobody behind Washington as well, in the sense that, he counted for most of the rush yards, and then Caden Knighton just not being able to get anything today.
Yeah, Caden Knighton ended tonight's game 4 rushes for 5 yards, and yeah, it's really been Bryson Washington tonight who had all the production at running back. 7 runs for 111 yards. That's his 9th career 100-plus yard rushing game, his 3rd straight this season after having a tough outing against Auburn week 1 where he only had 50 yards on 14 runs. And, we were talking about this before we started the postgame that Baylor needs Caden Knighton to step up as a more rotational running back, a guy who can show up and play more snaps and get more production than he has this season. And you need him to be kind of like a Dawson Pendergrass. Now, you don't expect him to be as good or as productive as Dawson Pendergrass, but you need him to eat up some of that production. You need someone to take his place to some extent. And the running game, Bryson Washington did great, 6.5 yards per carry. That was the highest of any ball carrier tonight. And, but he had no one to back him up. When he has to take breathers, there's not much of a threat of a run game whatsoever. And I think that just really hurt Baylor down the stretch. But also when we look towards the end of the game, right, Michael Trigg and Sawyer Robertson connected for 2 touchdowns late in the game. But it leaves a question with Baylor leaving time on the clock after his 2nd touchdown to tie the game at 24, a little under 2 minutes remaining, and giving Arizona State the ball and just being able to drive down.
It was 5 minutes to go when they had the ball, 5 minutes, 21 seconds. And really, when you get to that point in the game as a team, you're wanting to score really quickly, and just that big sack that Sawyer had on that 2nd down where he ran right into C.J. Fight really hurt the team. And then, as good as it is that Trigg catches a touchdown and goes in, Could it have been better if he had gone down maybe a little bit beforehand, because the clock at that point was under the 2-minute warning, so the Baylor defense didn't have any extra help in terms of getting stops or timeouts that could have, in the end, forced Arizona State to kick faster. And then, as we talk about big moments from this game, that Derek Eusebio 63-yard catch was really the dagger that just that defense that was tired being their back foot against the wall. That was really what decided this game. And as we talked about earlier, Sam Levitt and his passing being the deciding factor in that instance, it was.
Yeah, and this is for Sam Levitt. He went to a bunch of different guys. I mean, there were 7 different receivers that caught, or seven different guys that caught a pass for Arizona State tonight. And you look coming into this game, at least on the receiver side, only 2 guys had caught a pass, right? Jordan Tyson, 24 receptions, and then Malik McClain with 3. No one else had anything. We didn't see any of Jalen Moss today. Jaron Hamilton got some action, but Derek Eusebio didn't have anything coming into this game. Noble Johnson, we didn't even hear his name once in this ball game, but Sam Levitt was able to kind of spread the love, go to more receivers. I think that really helped them with the passing game instead of just solely relying on Jordan Tyson 24/7. But I think also, even though it's a loss, and if you're Baylor, you hate to lose a game like this, and you hate to start conference play 0-1. But from what we've seen through the first 4 weeks, is that they can really keep up with some good teams, especially in the Big 12, and just overall kind of at this level. And I think it can do them a lot of good playing this difficult of a non-conference schedule, especially with this upcoming schedule for them. They are heading to Stillwater next week to play Oklahoma State on September 27th, and then they come back home on October 4th to play K-State. So those are 2 teams and 2 games that should be very winnable. And I think this game and just playing all these tough teams can really set them up for success over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and they really, they can't lose any more games. Texas Tech is really firing on all cylinders, and now Arizona State having a conference win against them and being defending champions of the Big 12. And, they put up good performances. They were in the Auburn game for a long time until the end where they started to collapse. And then this game where just you were right there, if you're Baylor. You were right there, and just it slipped away. And so the hope is, I'm sure, from Aranda and everybody on the staff is, Oklahoma State, Kansas State not doing as well as they might have envisioned to begin the season, trying to go there and win 2 games in a row, get to 4-2, 2 games above 500, get some momentum going so that the rest of the season you can sweep and then have a chance at getting in that Big 12 championship. Because, like you said earlier, I mean, Texas Tech was one of the best schools in terms of getting transfers, and they look like nothing is really stopping them in terms of Big 12 opponents. So that will be a big thing for Baylor, is to just try to win out the season.
Yeah, and if you look at over the offseason, Texas Tech, the second highest spender over the offseason. And right now, the 2 front runners for the Big 12 championship look like Texas Tech and Iowa State, both winning their first conference matchups today. Both teams, the only 2 that are 4-0 in the Big 12. As you said, Baylor, the pressure is mounting every single week, and every time you lose, it gets harder and harder. Obviously, now with the expanded college football playoff, you can afford to lose a game or 2, unlike that 4-team format. But again, in a league like the Big 12, which could very well only see 1 team go to the college football playoff, you got to be one of 2 teams to make the Big 12 championship, and you got to win that game. And right now, there's still a lot that has to be done, a lot of work and a lot of adjustments that are to be made. But looking forward to the Baylor schedule, as we said, they'll be traveling to Stillwater next week to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. That'll be on September 27th. They come back home to play the Kansas State Wildcats. That'll be October 4th, a Saturday, right here at McLean Stadium. We'll have the call right here on the Baylor Lariat Radio. Kickoff time is yet to be determined, but make sure to stay tuned for those announcements. And then they'll head to TCU, one of their big challenges. That'll be in Fort Worth on the 18th. And then looking down the line, I think after that TCU game, looks like Utah is the biggest challenge that they have to overcome. And so looking forward at the schedule, Aidan, what do you think Baylor needs to do to be able to win against these top teams in the Big 12?
I think defense needs to have repeat performances like this. Keep players like Jackie Marshall healthy, and for the offense, Spavital has to be consistent in his play calling because he got Sawyer into the game early. He was in a rhythm, but just it seemed that he went really conservative, not utilizing his players in the way they need to be utilized. And so that will be the big deciding factor, I think, even more than the defense, because as we've seen versus SMU, Baylor can win a shootout. And it is, can Spavital rebound and learn from a game like this and continue the high-scoring offense that we saw last year? Because, I mean, you have two games versus big teams. They only scored 24. You know, fans around college football are used to this team scoring above 30, and you're not even able to make that mark. So that will be a big thing for them, is just trying to change up the play calling and utilize the strengths of Sawyer and trying to get something going in the rushing game other than Bryson Washington.
Yeah, well, that will do it from us here at McLean Stadium. Baylor dropping their conference opener 27-24. Jesus Gomez, game-winning 43-yard field goal to seal the deal for the Arizona State Sun Devils. But later this week, make sure to stay tuned. Baylor Lariat Radio will be at the Farrell Center for Baylor volleyball as they take on the TCU Horned Frogs. That'll be a week from today. Tip-off will be at 2 p.m. That'll be right here, so make sure to stay tuned. That'll do it from us. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Baylor Football Postgame Show on the Baylor Lariat Radio. All right.